Hey everybody, this is Keith Gleason from Indie Comics Relay. I'm here with my good friend, and co-host Johnny C.
What's up, everybody? I had a nice little bye week last week.
Yeah, right.
Or last time.
Yo, no, it's good to have you back, man.
Thanks.
We got a nice, another cool show tonight with another cool indie creator. Before we do that, I want to share my screen here. I want to just highlight my Indiegogo real quick. Mighty Mascots is still going strong.
Woo! Yeah. Look at that, man! You blew it out of the water.
I know, it's insane.
It's fantastic.
We're we just issue 4 is almost done and 5's already in production, so it's going strong. It's crazy.
And nice, man. Congratulations. I'm so proud.
Thanks, man. And then I also wanted to highlight your book, Surrounded by Death. It's you got a free preview up, right, for Global Comics?
Yeah, so to kind of help drive some reading traffic to Global Comics, the preview edition of Surrounded by Death issue 2 is now available there. This is a preview edition with a temporary cover, an alternate cover by Jesse Lundberg from Lundberg Graphics. Justin Birch, the legendary Justin Birch, lettered this version for us. And if you want to flip through a couple of panels there, Keith, you can kind of take a look at the
cover that Jesse did.
Yep, that's the cover that Jesse did. And you know, if you jump ahead a little bit further, you'll kind of see some of the nice techniques and reading formats of Global Comics.
Yeah, I really like.
So this is a free read for a limited amount of time. So if you wanted to jump on Surrounded by Death, you can read issue 2 preview edition for free right now for a very limited amount, no set days, but a very limited amount of time.
That's great. I'm gonna when I put this video up for just for future viewers, I'll put a link so people can go right to this and check it out.
Nice. Yeah, they've actually improved since the last time we've had Global Comics on. They've improved the reading experience even further. So they've tweaked some things in the back end, and they're making improvements, and they're really taking a drive. They have a lot of great creators right now. Now they're focusing on bringing in the readership and doing a lot more for the readers as well, which is pretty cool. And I love those guys. Big shout out to Chris.
Definitely. If you want to find out more about Global Comics, check out the video interview we did with them about a month ago.
Yep.
So right on the channel, and I'll put a link to it at the end here too, so people can go right. If you're an indie creator, this is a great alternative to Comixology, where you're not going to be as lost.
And it puts the control in your hands.
Yep, I like that a lot. So, without further ado, I'll bring in our guest tonight. He's, I believe, a teacher that does his own comics. And, I'm kind of fascinated by it. So let me bring in.
I'm very excited for tonight's guest because he is a indie self-publisher.
Yep. Hi, Dave.
Hi,
tonight is David Whalen.
David Whalen.
David Whalen. Hey, so Dave, I started to look into your company, and I was impressed that you actually have something like 12 issues of the same title. That's
I actually just put out issue 13 the end of last month. So
no kidding.
Of August, I put out issue 13 of The Offspring, and I'm calling that my season finale of The Offspring. So I'm taking a break from The Offspring for a few months to be able to make sure I've got the next issues ready to go, and The Offspring's going to start back up in January.
Dude, that's awesome. It's not often you see an indie creator that has more than 2 or 3 issues of the same title, which is amazing to me,
Yeah, I've been able to push out a lot of content that I'm really proud of. I couldn't be happier with the content I'm putting out and the different kind of stories I'm putting out, and being able to handle every 2 months, usually give or take, regular series.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you also actually do a lot of the art, everything. A lot of the whole process yourself, the artwork, the writing. There's very few outside collaborators. It seems. You had a couple of editors I noticed on the sample work that you provided us, but that's a lot of work for one individual. And now I know, because I have several books and I'm a self-publisher as well. So I mean, there's no magic bullet. But what is your process? How do you juggle all of it?
Like I said, I've been lucky enough to have a few colorists jump in with me, a few editors. I've actually got a great editor right now that's been with me for 4 or 5 different books, including The Offspring. Patrick Daniel, he helps me dot all the T's and cross all the I's. But really, quite honestly, as a teacher, you have to be super organized. And I really think that's the thing that gets me through being able to produce, write, draw, color, letter, get all this stuff out, and then publish multiple books throughout the year. Without the organizational skills that I have gained over the last decade, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd be such a scatterbrained artist where I've got, let me try that idea. Now let me try that one. Now let me try that one. Let me try that, and then nothing will ever get done. So
right.
It really is that the teacher aspect has helped me to be able to really focus on one thing at a time to be able to get it done.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So take us back a little bit. So how long have you been making comics, or like when did you start? Like,
I've always been into comics, always been an artist. I can't remember not drawing, and grew up reading comic books, like so many other of us. And I'd say probably about 6 or 7 years ago, my wife and I lived in Florida, grew up in Ohio, moved to Florida, found a wife, 2 kids in education, then moved up to upstate New York, probably about 10 years ago, and couldn't really find the time to be able to really put 100% into comics, because I knew that was what I wanted to do, just couldn't find the time, or was being distracted by other things, in that case a wife and 2 children, and getting my degree. When we moved up here, I said, I think it's time to just start doing it. So about 6 or 7 years ago, I started searching for really small press books, just to start getting some, maybe 5 or 6 pagers, maybe an issue here, maybe some anthology stuff. And about a year into that, just kind of knew that I was ready to be able to tell the stories that I've been hanging on for 20 years. Was just ready to do it. So I'd say probably about 5 years ago, started putting together what would be the first 4 issues of The Offspring. Getting it together, making sure I had strong, like Chuck said, a strong editor to be able to help me get everything ready. And it's the first couple issues took me a while, just because it was the first time I'd ever really tried to put such a big story together. But once I got the hang of it, once I really started getting into my groove and how I create what I know I need to do to be able to get going, it really just started flowing fairly easily. Always the obstacles to overcome, and learning things. You're like, I'm never going to do it that way again, or I need to do that better next time, that kind of stuff. But once I started getting to the groove, it just became fun. Just knowing I had stories to tell, and pushing some stories that maybe I just came up with, a month ago, into the queue to be able to get those stories done. And having a wife and 2 kids who are very understanding when I shut that door and say, Daddy needs an hour to be able to edit or color or letter or whatever it is. They're very understanding to say, all right, go do it, because when I open the door back up, I'm 100% dad. So I'm really lucky to be able to have the support system that I do, to be able to give me a chance to do something that I love to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I understand totally the juggling of everything, like the managing of your time is such a huge thing, and I totally get that. So I'm sure Johnny does too. We all work our normal jobs, and just finding
I don't divide my time, I multiply it.
So now you're a teacher as well. What do you teach, like, subject wise?
I teach elementary art.
Okay, I was gonna say you must be an art teacher. That's awesome.
I am, and I'm really lucky. I get to draw with kids all day.
What's great about that? You can cherry pick talent for your book.
Right?
That's exactly.
Start them young, right?
Oh yeah. I have a kid's already eyeballed. Oh, that kid's gonna be able to take over an issue. Got it.
Yeah. The kid's like, I'll do it for 4 fruit roll-ups.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me an A.
I'll give you a Milky Way and a milkshake. Go do it.
Yeah.
Give them like an A. I'll give you an A, and get a few pages in here or a pinup.
I'm not above that buying their grade. That's fine by me. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. We got Ara in here tonight.
Oh yeah, big shout out to everybody watching online. Hey Ara.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's great. And then, so when you started making comics, you decided that this is the time. Was that also when you formed your publishing company, Correct-Handed Comics?
Yeah, like I said, I was doing some small press stuff, and just said, after a couple of years of doing that, I'm like, I think I got it, but one of the struggles was finding a name for the company. I had probably 4 or 5 that I was kind of juggling and doing some sketchy artwork for and trying to come up with a logo. And then somewhere along the line, somebody noticed that I was left-handed, which people always do.
Me too.
I worked in restaurants for many, many, many years, and I'd be sitting there taking the order, and someone would say, "Oh, you're a lefty. Oh, how'd that work out?" All that kind of stuff. And I started saying, "Well, I'm not left-handed. I'm correct-handed. So it's not right-handed or left-handed."
Hey man, I'm with you. I'm a lefty too.
Yeah, and then that joke was just made to me at some point in the discovery of trying to figure out what I wanted to name the company. I'm like, that's perfect. That's perfect. Correct-Handed Comics. Got it. And from there, it all kind of snowballed.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I'm left-handed as well, but I'm only lefty with as far as writing and drawing. Mm-hmm. Everything else I do right-handed, so it's weird,
It's weird growing up. You kind of have to be ambidextrous because people are showing you things right-handed, but you're looking at it from a different left-handed perspective. And I don't know how many times I would try it in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade. I'd be writing something down, and the teacher would take the pencil out of my left hand and put it in my right hand, and I just keep putting it back, and I would just keep putting it back, and the teacher was like, "Fine, just whatever, just write."
Oh, that's funny. I never had that happen to me.
Oh yeah, never, yeah.
And I went to Catholic school. I figured the nuns would do that to you, but no, I never had anyone try to correct it for me.
Yeah. I don't know if they were correcting it as much as that's just what they knew. That's just what they thought.
Could be.
They'd be standing over me and they'd put it in my right hand and I'd be all limp right-handedness and then just went over and started doing it. I think it's when they started seeing me draw all over my homework that they realized, oh, he's one of those weirdo left-handers. Got it.
Yeah. Johnny, are you left-handed or right-handed?
So I'm traditionally right-handed for most of my things, but there's a select few things I find myself doing with the left hand. I don't know how I picked it up or where it came along down the line, but a couple of times, I picking up my coffee cup sometimes will be left-handed, or I guess depends upon the situation I'm in. If I'm at work, my drink's to my left. If I'm home, my drink's to my right. It's weird.
Yeah.
I'm weird.
Yeah. Well, with a mouse, I can't do it left-handed because the mouse is always on the right-hand side. It always has been, probably always will be. And I never thought to move it over to the left-hand side from the computer. So computer mouse, I couldn't do it. Well, I actually tried to move it over. I'm like, I bet I'd be better at this with my left hand. And you get it over there, and you're again, just you're beating a dead horse with it. You're not doing anything with it. So yeah, it's definitely a right-handed world. You gotta kind of juggle both ways sometimes.
Yep. And it's when I saw the name of your company, I knew exactly that's what it was going to be. I was just kind of waiting to see if that was the case.
Southpaw's Unite.
I love John Cimino's comment here. He says, David Whalen, he can get a job as Mark Millar's stunt double. You can send David into Mark Millar's pitch meetings at Netflix.
I would take that.
It's like an even swap out.
Yeah, right? Yeah, we met Mark Millar, I want to say back 10 years ago in Chicago, and he had just done the first Kick-Ass comic, and he was telling us about it, and me and John were talking about it. I was like, I don't know. It doesn't sound that good. Look at how wrong we were. You know.
Yeah. Oh, and I loved that book too. I went bananas for it.
The comic was great. You know. So.
Well, that's a good way to get Shady Lady as a movie at Netflix, right? You swap them in, they think you're Mark Millar, right?
I love it. You talk to me into it. I'll hold it up and show it off. There
you go. So I got to read that today, and I was definitely intrigued by it. There's it gave me a lot of flares of different things like Tank Girl, and I love that, you know, it was kind of like she was like this chaotic force, this chaotic avenging force running around New York.
Yeah.
I have to know, where did the inspiration come from? Where did you get the idea, and what compelled you to make it into a one-shot story?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the old 40s and 50s noir thriller detective stuff like Frank Sinatra, Suddenly, and Lady in the Lake, and Detective, stuff like that. I'm a really big noir thriller guy, and I wanted to do something that was very modern, but had that noir like detective, like a anti-hero kind of feel to it, and having a strong female protagonist really for this kind of story for me is just a no-brainer. And as far as her look goes, I just wanted to make her look as cool as I possibly could. Somebody that would not quite scare you, but give you pause when you saw her. Like you knew there's something else going on in there than just let's go shopping or let's go watch Desperate Housewives or whatever it is. There's something else going on in there. And as it's very much, the story is very much small contained things that start to get threaded and weaved into a bigger arc. And by the time you get to the end of the book, you kind of realize why she's doing the things she's doing and why she's motivated to be able to throw herself into these situations that are very much modern societal problems, modern societal issues that have been happening in the last 4 or 5 years. And at the end of it, you don't know whether she's the good guy or not. You don't know. It's very black. It's very gray. There is no black and white, and that's an ongoing theme in a lot of my books, where morality is depending on the person, depending on the situation, depending on where you are, very, very subjective. There's in my mind there is no such thing as objective morality. It's where you are, it's a situation, and it's what you think you need to do to continue yourself forward.
Well, her story specifically reminded me of John Rambo in First Blood to an extent. And then you even took it to the extent of using the camouflaging technique kind of from Rambo 2, where she steps out of the shadows. And I was like, wow. And then she's a vet, and a lot of those through pieces kind of made sense. It's like, is there mental trauma here? Like, what's going on? And I kind of like that. I like that it was very gritty, and it reminded me a lot of the 90s indie comics I grew up reading and loving, so very much.
Thank you very much. Everything you're saying, thank you very much. It's a great compliment.
No problem.
And I try to in my writing. I don't want to just hand everything to the audience. I want them to be able to fill in some of the blanks from time to time. And even if it's different from person to person, that's okay, because they're projecting themselves into the story. So there are a lot of times where I think I'm writing down what I want to have happen, and I'm thumbnailing it out. I go, I'm giving away too much information. I think I wanted to step back a little bit and have this character be a little bit more of a mystery. And with Shady Lady, that was definitely what I tried to do.
Yeah, when you said modern, it definitely felt modern, especially with some of the scenarios she encountered when she came across the white nationalists and the dummies with the torches, and I was just, it felt in the moment as if it was recent, but also contextually, I kind of had this nostalgic 90s indie comic vibe. So it was a real nice blend, and almost kind of weird in a good way, where it was like, this is a nice blend of old and new, and I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
Again, thank you very much. Yeah, it definitely is, like they say on SVU or something, straight from the headlines. That's one of the stories that I came up with from concept to finished product. It was very fast. It was a lot faster than what I usually do. Sometimes, like with the Offspring, it's 20 years in the making. for Shady Lady. It was literally probably 3 or 4 months where I said this is going to be the first one shot I put out. Where I had other ideas. I have other stuff ready to go for me to be able to draw and get it ready. But when I kind of gave kind of the conception Shady Lady, I said I think this needs to be the first one shot. I think I need to move this up a few, and I did, and I love it. Came out in January, and I love the way it turned out.
Now, what would you say specifically had you prioritize it? Just everything that was going on, or?
Yeah, I think that especially in these very politically charged times, I'm very in my real life. I am happy to talk about politics, good, bad, and ugly. I think that's one thing that we're missing in our real lives. I think that's one of the reasons why it always becomes a shouting match or a screaming match, is because people can't just talk about their differences. It doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make them good. It makes them people who have, their life experiences that give them opinions about what they think that should be happening in the country that they live in. And it was very much a chance for me to be able to not take sides, but to be able to shoehorn a character that had, like I said, was very gray in her morality, but shoehorning a character to be that every person, to be that person that you would want to be in those situations. And in my real life, love talking politics. Anything about it, I will sit there and talk to you for hours and hours and hours, whether you agree with me or not. I love hearing other sides. I love hearing the different sides of it. I pride myself on being a person who can see both sides of almost any issue. But with this character, it was very much a political story, but but didn't throw politics in your face, I think.
Yeah, I feel like what it really did was make, because we see a lot of like a real surge of the strong female character stories, but you don't see a lot of strong female anti-heroes.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where you hit the nail on the head a little bit. And I think if that's a type, for any of the people watching, if that's the type of book you think you'd like, I think David's book Shady Lady is for you.
Yeah, she's a normal person. Yeah, she's a normal person. She's not a superhero. She's not Supergirl or back. She's got problems. And those problems affect her life. And
I love
she also lets those problems inform her on how she treats or how she affects other people also.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I love when someone can take like a story and make it like a modern, a modern noir type of story. Because I don't think we get enough of those in movies, movies or comics even, or any kind of entertainment.
Yeah, and I would say that I'm very much influenced by like Frank Miller kind of noir stuff that he did in the 90s, like Sin City and stuff like that. Clearly, my style is a little bit different. I like the bold blacks, but there's a different kind of feel to my style, I think. But very much, those noir thrillers definitely were an influence on me for this particular book.
Oh yeah, I'd say that permeates through Shady Lady for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, did you do Shady Lady as like a one shot? Because like taking a break from Offspring because you had this other idea that you wanted that was kind of fighting to get out.
It was, yeah. I very much know that as an indie creator, especially an indie creator that's not the cream, like I'm not the cream of the crop. I'm the guy somewhere in the lower middle part of the spectrum.
Okay.
Not everybody's going to be able to get a hold of it right away. And I think my viewership is growing from day to day, week to week, month to month. But I know that The Offspring as a really an ongoing series can be difficult for a lot of people from an indie comics creator because they don't know if it's gonna finish. They don't know if the creator's gonna keep doing what they're doing. So I really wanted to focus on getting one shots out there that kind of showed off my style of writing and of drawing, showed different genres, different kind of characters. That's one of the reasons why issue 13 I'm calling the season finale of The Offspring. And issue 14 will come in January because I wanted to focus to get at least 3. I think I'm trying to get 4 out before New Year's, different one-shots that have different characters, different genres. They're one-shot stories, one and dones. To be able to again kind of flex my muscles a little bit with different kind of characters and different kind of stories. The one that's coming out right before Halloween is a little bit more traditional superhero than what I usually put out. But it's a super. I always try to put that twist on it that shows something that hasn't been done before. It's called I Won't Stop, and the superhero's name is Spiral. So that'll kind of give you an idea about where the character is going to be going. And it really is, I think, taking that with great power comes great responsibility trope that we hear all the time with comics, and really turning it on its head and really taking it to the next level, to where we are, to where I'm trying to physically and psychologically push a superhero type character to his complete limits. And that's the next one shot I have coming out. I'm 6 or 7 pages in the bank done with it. So I've got about 12 or 13 more to go. There is all thumbnails all ready to go. I just need to find the time in my business schedule to continue doing. I've got four more pages penciled and some partially inked. So it's just, again, it's that process of really trying to find that organization to be able to get it done. So I Won't Stop should come out in right before Halloween.
That sounds like an exciting story. I'm going to be looking forward for that one.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that one.
It's awesome, Dave. Now, I don't know if you saw it, like heard us talking in the beginning of the show. Have you thought about putting all your books on like Global Comics or anything like that?
Definitely have, yes. As a creator, my first and foremost goal was content.
Yeah.
Now
good.
that I've got the content, I'm definitely looking to branch out into other places. I've never done a Kickstarter because I'm a one-man band and never really had the only thing that cost me is time. So when 2021 rolls around, assuming there's some sort of normalcy, I plan on doing my first Kickstarter, just to be able to get more eyes on the book. More eyes on the book are always better than less.
Are you going to do a collected version? Is that why?
Great question. I don't know if I've answered that question to myself yet.
Well, you certainly have enough.
Yeah, I could go with maybe some one shot, trying to start a one shot and have other one shots as those prizes or those different things to be able to entice people to be able to give money for, or I could do a trade of the Offspring, which I already have, Volume 1, the trade of
let me make it big here so that.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
There we go.
So that's your first trade.
That's the first trade of the Offspring.
How many issues does that collect?
Yeah, 1 through 4. It's the first story arc.
1 through 4. Awesome. Yeah. That's great, man. And did you collect the other ones as well?
I do. Yeah, I have issues. Volume 2 here is issues 5 through 10.
Okay.
So there's a few more books in there to be able to tell. There's some of those stories for 5. Oh, I've got a promo for I Won't Stop in there too. There's a promo in there for I Won't Stop. Show that off.
Awesome.
Right there. So the volume 2 of the Offspring has, I wanted to, especially for the next set of stories after the big story arc, that really introduces the characters and their powers and what their problems were, to have smaller stories that focused on each individual character and then push their story forward a little bit more. So each 2 issues, so issues 5 and 6 focus on one character. Issues 7 and 8 focus on another character. All the other characters are there because they're definitely a unit. I wouldn't call them a team or anything. They're just friends that try to support each other. But then we start to get bigger into the mythology of what the Offspring is, to be able to kind of show why these troubled young 20, 21-year-olds are kind of contracting. They don't see these powers as a gift. They kind of see them as a sickness. They're kind of contracting these powers, and why they seem to be becoming a magnet for trouble. They've had trouble their whole lives. Each character was mentally or physically abused growing up, and that's how their powers kind of manifested. However, they were abused is how their powers manifested, and we see that right from the get-go in the first 4 pages of Offspring 1. Yeah. And they kind of see these powers as a curse. and we meet them in the first story arc in their lowest point. Like they are not doing good. they're doing very poorly. And the one character who we kind of introduce, Will, who's the smaller kind of strong guy of the friends group. He looks like he's doing well. He looks like he's doing much better than the rest of the team. But as the story goes on, we start to see cracks. We start to see that he's a duck on the pond. On top of the pond, the duck looks nice and calm. Going over that pond, underneath, those feet are just flapping away, and it's crazy.
Yeah, right.
I really want to, especially in over issues 1 and 13, I really wanted to dive into why these characters are this beacon of or magnet for trouble, and why they are having the troubles that they're having. Issues 14 through the next season is going to be them really trying to figure out psychologically what the heck it is they're doing and why they're doing it. And they're just going to grow more powerful as they go, and they don't want to. They don't want to have these powers. They don't want to have these responsibilities. And that's something I'm really going to focus on in the next season.
That's awesome. And now, do you have a what is it called? Like a template for like how long you want to go? Like, do you see this series going to like 50 issues or more? Or?
You nailed it. 50 is what I'm going for. I have more stories. So if somewhere on the line it takes off and I start doing Spawn numbers, then I could take the story out for 100.
Or even further, yeah.
These characters for me are designed to be able to tell any kind of story at any time, to be able to cross genres. And you'll notice as issues 1 through 13, you'll notice it starts off very much a action, thriller, horror. But as it starts to go on, it starts to shift into more of an action, adventure, sci-fi type thing. Okay. So as we move forward on the genres are definitely going to kind of shift and merge and kind of mold into each other, which is really what I wanted to do with this series, to be able to have as many different genres as I possibly could, but have it make sense to the story and the characters. And 50 issues, I think, is a good round number to be able to get it done.
Yeah, that's
a attainable goal.
I mean, even like 5 issues and by an indie creator is like impressive now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But to get to 50, that's like incredible. It's like not even heard of before.
I think I could do it with 13 issues in 2 years. I think I could do it. I'll be 17 something or other when it happens. But
that's great.
I think I can do it. I like these characters. They're part of me, and I think that I don't think I could pass without getting their story all the way out.
Do you?
Summer guy, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. So, what area do you live in? Like, what's?
I'm in upstate New York. I'm in
New York.
Very much upstate New York.
Do you go and sell your books at like any conventions or anything like that?
I was going to ask that. Do you do any conventions, or before before the pandemic hit, did you do any shows?
I would more like to go to shows and talk to creators and get feedback and talk to them and buy indie books and really support those indie creators. I plan on doing more shows when all the weirdness starts. I think the weirdness is one of the things that I would do some shows here or there, but really it was about me going with my kids to be able to, and showing off my books and all that kind of stuff too. But I think the weirdness with all of this pandemic stuff has really given me the burr up my butt to get to be a vendor at as many shows as I possibly could. And really take that to the next level.
Where'd you say upstate New York?
Upstate, yep.
Oh, so Saratoga would probably be Saratoga Springs, New York. That would probably be in the wheelhouse area.
Yeah, I'm about an hour and a half north of Syracuse. So Syracuse, Utica, Watertown area. There's some stuff in Potsdam, way upstate. There's some shows that I've been to that are great shows, great creators, all that stuff there. And I'm definitely going to do a deep dive when all this stuff breaks to be able to be a more active role instead of just
I think it helps. Like, it helps you grow fans and readers, and and especially with as many issues as you have, you probably could get somebody to snag issues 1 and 2, and if they like them, they'll come back and get 3 and 4 from you the next time. Yeah,
I hope so. My main goal is always just to make connections with people. So being able to go and to sell books and make connections with people is
I mean, that's what for a long time, because I've been going to conventions like for 20 years now, and a lot of the time, a lot of it's attitude too. Like when you go to sell, like I generally like talking with people, so like. And then if the book comes up, I'll pitch it, But like I like to have like just a conversation with people, even if it's not about my book, And I find that's my best selling technique,
Yeah, so, I definitely like to hear people's stories.
Yeah,
the more stories I hear, the more stories I have. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and then people will buy stuff from you if they like you. You know what I mean? It's almost like you're selling your book just by like talking, and it's one of those weird concepts. Wouldn't you say, Johnny? It's kind of like
being a bartender.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of chit chat. Oh, what do you like? What do you watch? What do you? Oh, you might like this, and then it's like it's less about the actual transaction and more about making a connection with somebody. Yep, and then that's kind of helping build your fan base,
Yep. Oh yeah, definitely. And so let me. I was gonna pop up your because I had someone in the chat with some comments here. Ara thanked us.
Thank you, Ara.
And then Amy's Birdhouse was asking where she can go to purchase Shady Lady.
Yeah, my website, correcthandedcomics.com.
Let me share it so we can take a look at it.
I actually have have had a lot of success just selling books on Amazon.
Oh, really?
So a lot of my links go to other places that I sell books, Lulu, Comixology, but I have found that most of my traffic goes through Amazon.
That's great. Yeah, I've heard other creators have good success with Amazon as well.
So you can see Shady Lady right there on the front of my website there, and Offspring issue 12 right there. I've been starting school and everything right now. I haven't been able to get issue 13 onto the front page. I got to do that. Probably gonna do that this weekend.
That's awesome.
If
I can tell right away from reading issue 1 to looking at this cover of issue 12 is that your art's gotten stronger too.
Very much. Oh yeah, I will always look back. I mean, any artist will look back at whatever they did 5 years ago and go, "Good."
Yeah, right.
But yeah, definitely, I've definitely honed a lot of the things in my style and how I want to communicate what I'm doing.
Gotcha. And then the graphic novel collection. Yeah, and I was going to say, like, I had stuff on Comixology. I found that Comixology really, I wasn't doing too well there. But I Global Comics, Johnny's been having great success with. So, like, I think like I may move some of my indie stuff over there eventually when I actually have a free minute.
I'm definitely going to check that out. Yeah, Comixology, I found that as a small timer, you get lost a little bit.
Oh, big time. So, where is this new global? What's that?
Well, it's great to have it up there. It get lost from the big boys. The big boys kind of overpower it.
Yeah. Well, I think that combined with that, I don't think digital is as great as everyone says it is. I think everyone still kind of loves print with comics.
That physical book, having that tactile relationship with the story is super important, especially in this business. That page right there, The Last Ride to Tyburn, that's actually my first novel.
Oh, you write. You do prose novels as well.
That's not a comic book at all. That's and my wife makes fun of me when I started writing this 12 years ago, and it's been selling pretty good on Amazon. I probably need to promote it a little bit more than I do. I probably will do that tomorrow. My wife made fun of me because she's like, "You're writing your first novel, but it's going to be a Western." And I said, "Yeah, it's going to be awesome." She goes, "Nobody watches Westerns or likes Westerns anymore. Why would you do that?"
I do. My first comic book was based on Sartana, the old spaghetti Western movies. So yeah, like that was my first book I did, and like it just I knew going into it, I was like, nobody's gonna like this except for me. I'm doing this for myself.
That's exactly what I did. I had a story. I think I had a strong lead character. I had a strong story. I had a strong twist at the end, and I knew exactly how I wanted to plan it out. I'm like, I'm just going to write this book, and I think it's definitely a traditional spaghetti type western, but I think it has some modern flair, some modern jokes, some modern stuff in it to be able to make it a little bit different. It's got all the stuff: shootouts, horse chases, carriages, the sheriffs. It's got all that stuff in it. But I think that by the middle of the book, it starts to take that turn a little bit, and you don't really know where it's going to go. Yeah. I think by the end of the book, I think there's some really big, fun surprises in there that I think people would like if they give it a shot.
I'll have to check it out. I definitely love spaghetti westerns, and the one thing about spaghetti western, one thing that defines it as spaghetti western is usually a visual look. So for you to take that and translate that to a novel, that I'm very intrigued by that. I can't wait to check that out.
Yeah, there's old book, anything Louis L'Amour, I would soak up like a biscuit in my teens. I haven't got through all his books clearly because there's a billion of them. But anything John Wayne, anything Jimmy Stewart is a western. I could not get enough. And I would get yelled at by my parents sitting downstairs in our basement at 1 o'clock in the morning, still watching westerns on HBO. And my dad would like go upstairs and go. And I'm like, it's almost done, Dad. It's almost done. Jimmy Stewart's about to kill this guy. It's almost done.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's go. So I'd have to watch it. Like 10 years later, I'd finally see the end of like Rio Grande or whatever, Rio Bravo. I finally, like 10 years later, I never saw the ending. I'm like, oh great, that's how it is.
I was going to say, was there one particular western that's your favorite, or?
It's my all-time favorite movie of all time is Tombstone. You can't, as a modern western, you can't. I don't think you can find something that wraps modern and traditional so well in western. But like I said, She Wore a Yellow Ribbon is a great John Wayne. I don't know if you really describe that as a western. It's more of a war movie, I guess.
Yeah.
They're right horses, so I'm going to count it. Let's see, I'm trying to think. Dean Martin and I believe it was Jimmy Stewart, and I just said it's Rio Bravo. It was a great movie. Again, anything Dean Martin, I'll do it. And Dean Martin as a cowboy, got it. I'm in for it. So yeah, I'm blanking now on any other westerns that's any of them.
Yeah, totally Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
That's a great one.
Love that one.
Yep.
I do like I do like when they take like another genre and kind of make it a western. Like something like that recent Breaking Bad movie, El Camino.
Oh yeah, or
modern western.
Or all of season 1 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Every episode was a western. Every one of them.
Yeah. They look at those old serials and the old western movie. We're going to take this. And we're going to take this.
Yeah.
We're going to take this.
I love when they do that. Same thing with noir. Like one that I just watched not too long ago that I would recommend to you guys if you like noir movies is there's a movie on Amazon Prime with Andrew Garfield called Under the Silver Lake.
Okay.
And it's basically a hipster noir movie. It's like a kid that's like, it's wild, but I recommend it if you like noir.
That's what Brick was. Rian Johnson's first movie, Brick.
Yeah, Brick was great.
It was like a modern noir. Yeah, that was kind of one of the appeals of it. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. It's really cool. So if you like that kind of stuff, I'd recommend it. And then I saw this one, The Loved Ones. Is that another one shot that you did?
It is actually a 100-page graphic novel. This guy, you can see it on the computer, on the website also there.
Let me pop you up.
This is a 100-plus page graphic novel, and this was an idea I had right in the middle of really trying to push out a lot of work at once. So I thought, why don't I see? Because I had a writer buddy. Brian Menard, who has his own company called Dojo Kun Comics, and we kind of did this as a dual joint effort. And I had this concept, and I said, I don't have time to write this. Why don't I see if Brian wants to do a collab? So I went to him with this concept, which was essentially, I love old stuff. If it's old black and white, I'll do it. And the old classic movie monsters, Frankenstein's monsters, vampires, witches, Wolfman, all that stuff. I loved it. Loved having scared the Jesus out of me when I was a little kid. So I thought, again, trying to take that gray area, not black and white world, but a gray area of morality, and really wanted to throw on that nurture or nature question. Is it nurture or is it nature that defines who you are? So I thought, if these old movie monsters had kids, the kids are essentially kidnapped by a monster hunter type character, like a Van Helsing type character, and his name is Van Arxlander, and he raises them, and they get to be about 12 or 13, and they suddenly find themselves on their own again for whatever reason. I won't spoil it. And they decide that they are going to, because they are very torn between two worlds. They're not human. They're not quite monsters anymore because they've been raised as regular children. So they decide to go hunt their parents, and just say, what's going on? Why did you do this to us? The script that Brian came up with really takes these preteen characters, they're 12, 13, really takes these preteen monster characters and really gives them heart. Really, for some of them it goes well, for some of them it does not go well, but they really take these characters. He really took these characters into a direction where, by the end of it, I cared about what their direction was. And I think, again, at the end of it, there's a full story. There's no like to be continued or anything. But at the end, which I love to do, I love to create that little twist to be able to open them up for other stories. And I think once it gets from beginning to end, I think it really has such an action but heart base to the story that I love drawing every second of it. It took me about a year to be able to draw 100+ pages, but by the time I was done with it, I really was happy that not only that I collaborated with Brian on it, but that I was able to take the time and still get out the Offspring to be able to
that's great.
Out.
I love the concept. I love the concept. That's fantastic. Reminds me a lot of Runaways and a couple other little things sprinkled in.
Runaways, or even like going back, Jack Kirby with Orion. Remember he was Darkseid's son, but he was raised with
that you're kind of stuck between two worlds type.
Yeah, stuck between two worlds, but he always had that rage, like he was just always like, ready to fight, ready to scrap with somebody, So, but yeah, that's great. Dave, this stuff looks great. Definitely. Is there other places that you direct people, like any other links that you want people to know about, or?
Yeah, I'm always trying to grow. I'm always putting stuff on Facebook. So at Correct Handed Comics for Facebook. I have a lot of stuff, a lot of traffic through there to be able to show different things, behind the scenes stuff.
Do you do Instagram?
I do Instagram. It is at correct_handed.
Okay.
Same for Twitter, correct_handed. I actually, this is funny. My daughter, I have a preteen daughter, a teenage son and a preteen daughter, and she's big into the TikToks. I'm trying to convince her it's a big waste of time, but she's big into the TikToks. And I'm looking at her, look at these TikToks. It's like 500 views, 1,000 views, 1 million views on these kids doing nothing. So I'm sitting at home one day and doing stuff on Facebook, and I go, let me just make a TikTok thing. And I put stuff on TikTok. Within 2 hours, I had traffic on my website. I'm like, oh, this is working out.
So did you do a drawing video on there?
Yeah, I just kind of talk on and flip through. My daughter and I have been having a little bit more fun with it lately. So my daughter's like jumping in and we're making jokes and I'm playing guitar on it and she's showing the books and everything. So we're trying to have a little bit more fun with it, but it's definitely been a new outlet, a new social media thing to be able to.
That's the problem. There's too much social media.
Facebook by itself is a full-time job.
Yeah, it is. It is. Like indie creator is going to be like half a business person besides
There's too many social platforms and there's too many streaming services.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree with you. Yeah. LinkedIn also. I'm on LinkedIn too, and I believe my LinkedIn is. I'm sure if you just Google Correct Handed Comics or LinkedIn, search on LinkedIn Correct Handed Comics. I'm sure I'll pop up there. So
that's actually a good question. As an indie comic creator and having a LinkedIn account, do you favor comics to your teaching or vice versa on there, or do you kind of keep those two things separate?
Those two things are always separate. I have my teaching stuff and I have my comic stuff. I do have, from time to time, I'll have parents come up to me and say, "Hey, I saw you on that YouTube comic book thing," and I'll kind of be like, "Oh, did I curse that day?" So that really made me aware that I need to realize that I've got my teacher hat also. So people say you can curse, you can say whatever you want, and I'll say I might have students on, I might have parents on.
Yeah,
so
you gotta be careful with that too, especially.
Yeah. I'm so happy that they take the time to support me. I work for a great district with great kids and great parents.
Good.
And I think they really do value what it is for the most part. They do value what it is that I teach and realize that art is not just drawing pretty pictures. It's problem solving, creative thinking, critical thinking, and it's seeing and understanding your world better, which are all things that we all want to have. So
building that imagination
exactly.
And a lot of skills. A lot of skills in art.
It's so much a part of who we are and life in general. People just don't see it. They don't understand that emoji that they clicked on their phone to be able to say, "I'm mad, I'm happy, I'm sad, oh, love." Those are little pictures that were drawn by artists.
But also an artistic expression,
Yeah.
If you look at it that way. All right. So what I'll do is when we this video will be live on the channel tonight. But when I go in, I usually go in and I'll edit the description. I'll add all your links as well to it, just so people know where to go to find the books and just even connect with you, as creators and.
Find me on everybody. Find me on Facebook. I do most of my stuff through the hub is through Facebook and all the other.
And if you end up going to more conventions next year when things settle down, especially because Johnny's always up at the Saratoga show, he's always doing the announcing. Come say hi to us. I
definitely will. I'm going to try to find like a tri-state area, Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio thing. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, and they have a great convention there. That's my buddies. I still contact buddies from high school and talk to them, and they're like, "When are you going to come to the convention down here in the Gem City?" And I always say,
that's what Johnny has on top of me. He gets around to a lot of places, which is a good thing though, because you need more fans everywhere. It's like
I try to hit the big shows because it's like they're kind of like really big hubs, like you said, in regards. So like I try to do C2E2, I try to do San Diego, I try to do New York Comic Con in some capacities if I can get booth space or if I can at least go and like do like an after con party or something like that.
Yeah. So, all right, great. So we're gonna start to wrap up here. We're almost at an hour, which is good. So we already gave us the links. Johnny, did you have anything you wanted to promote, or is it just the Global Comics preview again?
No, just so for me, just Surrounded by Death 2 preview editions now available for free for a limited time on Global Comics. But I was just going to say, if David wanted to do any shout-outs or shout-outs to his local comic shop, anything, if you want to take a minute, David, by all means, please feel free.
But also what I want to say is I've been stalking both of you guys and looking at both of your works. Your books look awesome.
Thank you.
They're so good. and I am so happy to be able to sit here and talk with you guys about indie comics, and I hope to be able to do it again. Soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
It's great to talk to two great creators like you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on and taking the time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And before we go, just everybody, check out Mighty Mascots on Indiegogo. And hope I got our next guest in 2 weeks. I got Ryan Nguyen coming on the show from Gods and Gears. So he's been an anchor in the industry for a long time. He's worked for every company, so it will be good to talk to him in 2 weeks. And I should have a new comic review next week.
Awesome.
All right, so
everybody go pick up Shady Lady.
Yep, and check out the Offspring. And we'll put links in the description to support Dave and help get his work out there. And he's definitely an indie creator that delivers. So
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, any last minute shout outs or anything that you want to say to anybody?
I actually did have one more book.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
Pop it up.
Evolution Euro 4-issue miniseries about a superhero before they're born. It's actually a superhero fetus who is affecting the mother, who the mother is the worst person imaginable.
Oh,
wow.
Awesome.
That's a great
idea. Twist.
Yeah, it's a little action adventure. It's got a whole bunch of fun fight scenes, fun stuff in it, fun psychological stuff, great visuals. Check that one out too. Evolution Euro.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Awesome.
Great
It just keeps on coming. Sorry, it just keeps on coming. Sorry.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Everyone, thanks for joining us tonight in the chat. And this video will be live on the channel shortly. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Good night, everyone.
Take care, David. Thanks for coming on.